The telephone startled me awake in the pale darkness just before dawn. The voice on the other end belonged to the night manager, calm and measured on the surface, yet I caught the faint quiver underneath that needed no explanation. "Madam," he said, "your husband arrived yesterday evening. He registered the room under your name and came with a much younger woman. Your son asked me to handle this discreetly." I sat on the edge of the bed, clutching the receiver, staring at the blank wall while his words settled inside me like lead weights dropped into still water. "That can't be right," I answered, my own voice shaking, not from terror but from the sheer impossibility of it. "He's at home right now with our grandchildren." There was a pause, heavy as winter air. "Please come to the hotel," the manager said. "It's worse than you think." I dressed without turning on more lights than necessary, moving through the quiet rooms like a ghost. No outfit in the world could hide what I was walking into, and none could soften what I had already resolved to do. As I pulled on my coat, memories rose uninvited. The first evening I ever saw him, the easy laughter that spilled out of him, the way his eyes found mine across a crowded cafe and made the rest of the world disappear. He used to reach for my hand in any room full of strangers, tracing small circles on my skin while he painted pictures of houses we would own, trips we would take, a life so bright it felt foolish to doubt it. I had given him everything without reservation, the reckless kind of love that believes betrayal only happens to other people. The cracks appeared slowly. Phone calls after midnight he swore were urgent business. Dinners that stretched into client meetings, and left him smelling of someone else's perfume. The way he began turning his face when I reached to push the hair off his forehead. I noticed. I always noticed. Instead of tears or accusations, I started keeping records, quiet, methodical notes the way a scientist tracks symptoms. Every unexplained charge, every deleted text I recovered, every lie that didn't quite line up. I built a private archive of his deception. Then came the message that ended the pretending. His phone lit up on the kitchen counter while he showered. A single line from a contact saved as a woman's name. "Tonight. Same place. Be careful." I felt the air leave my lungs, but I did not make a sound. I photographed the screen, wrote down the time, the date, the hotel address, and the name. Then I began to plan, not with rage, but with the cold clarity of someone who finally sees the whole board. Over the following months I moved money he never knew I could touch, rerouted titles, gathered statements, and printed emails. I revisited the lawyer who once helped me protect my parents' estate, and laid every piece of evidence before her like a general spreading maps across a table. I wanted no screaming divorce, no tabloid mess. I wanted exposure so complete, so airtight that denial would be impossible. Friends who once adored his charisma received polite, devastating updates. Colleagues who trusted his judgment discovered quiet questions planted months earlier now blooming into full investigations. I prepared the ground the way a gardener prepares soil, patiently, invisibly, thoroughly. When I stepped out of the taxi in front of the hotel that morning, the wind cut straight through my coat, but I barely felt it. I had spent years listening to him laugh at the very idea that anyone, especially me, could ever outmaneuver him. That laugh had been his armor. Today it would be useless. The clerk led me down a carpeted hallway that smelled faintly of bleach and roses. The door to the suite stood slightly ajar. Through the gap I saw him, first shirt unbuttoned, hair tousled, a glass of something amber in his hand. He glanced up, startled. Then the old smirk flickered across his mouth, the one that always said, "I will talk my way out of this too." "We need to speak," I said, stepping inside. My voice was soft, almost conversational, but it carried every sleepless night, every calculated keystroke. He gave a short, dismissive laugh, until I set the first thick folder on the low table between us. Then another, and another. Photographs, bank records, hotel receipts, timelines printed in neat columns. Each one landed with the weight of a gavel. The smirk died. I watched the color drain from his face as I spoke, calmly reciting the sequence of events he thought no one would ever connect. Frozen accounts. Properties already transferred into trusts he could not touch. Board members who had received anonymous packages weeks ago and were, at this very moment, scheduling emergency meetings. Partners who now understood exactly how much money had vanished into expenses that matched certain dates and cities. He opened his mouth, searching for the old charm, the old excuses, But I was pages ahead of him. I had written the script for every possible denial months earlier and neutralized each one before he could utter it. When I finished, the room was silent except for the faint hum of the air conditioning. The man who once held me like something precious now sat hunched forward, hands trembling, staring at the ruin of his carefully constructed life. "What about her?" he managed at last, voice cracked and small. "She was never the point," I said. "But she'll remember this morning too." I gathered the empty folders, slipped them back into my bag, and walked out without hurry. He did not call after me. There was nothing left to say. Outside, the sky had turned the color of pale gold and fresh blood. The cold air felt clean against my skin. I did not cry. I did not smile for him or for vengeance. I smiled because the scales had finally tipped, and for the first time in years I could feel my own weight again, steady, unshakable, free. Precise, patient justice speaks a language the guilty understand perfectly. They simply never expect to hear it in a woman's voice, until it is far too late.